To support this podcast, go to positivesarcasm.com/donate. Any amount is appreciated. Once again, positivesarcasm.com/donate. Thank you and enjoy the program. Hello. Welcome to the show. The affiliate links for everything are in the description down below. Welcome to the Positive Sarcasm podcast. If you have questions, concerns, or comments, feel free to hit me up on my website, positivesarcasm.com, in the contact section, or you can email me directly, positivesarcasm@outlook.com, or you can hit me up through Instagram at positive_sarcasm. So those are a few ways of getting hold of me. Of course, facebook.com/POSSarcasm or facebook.com/positivesarcasm. Just there are always ways to get a hold of me. If you are looking to utilize any of the affiliate links and you want to get signed up, you'll get free stocks or free cash if you sign up for the Webull app, or if you sign up for I believe the eToro app is also in there as well. I should probably also put the Moomoo app up there soon as well. That's a pretty good application if you're looking to start your financial wellness. That is one part. The other ones, if you're looking for some podcasts to listen to in your ear for cultural and motivational purposes, there's the Mel Robbins podcast, and then there's, of course, Dr. Jordan B. Peterson, who both of them, I believe, are weekly or bi-weekly podcast drops. So definitely look for those. Once again, Mel Robbins and Dr. Jordan B. Peterson have some very good content that I think you folks should absolutely absorb. There are some other links as well for mental health counseling and a few other things in case of emergency break glass. Go ahead and check out all those links down below. The new format of this podcast, so we've been doing it about once a week, and since the beginning of July, we changed the format to basically Q&A, mostly Q&A. And we are still using dig.com. We also tried Dear Abby. And this week we're going to do actually a Reddit Q&A. I've got about 5 questions here that we're going to go through. These have not been pre-screened. These are essentially pulled fresh. So we're going to try to think on the spot. The goal of this podcast at this time right now with answering these questions is to try to be as honest and respectful and positively constructive of what's going on in the situation, so that we can possibly, when you listen to these questions or these concerns, you won't take away everything from the question, from the dilemma that this person's having, but maybe a segment of the question may resonate with you. If you maybe you agree with my addressing of it, or maybe you don't, but if you have your own opinion about how the situation should be handled, you can always comment in the descriptions below from the podcast, which is available on Rumble and back on YouTube, and it's anywhere where audio podcasts are available, including Substack and Spotify. So you can always participate if you have a thought that maybe I have missed something. Like I said, I'm coming from this approach, trying to really work hard on bettering myself this year through counseling, behavioral therapy, new physical fitness regimens, like daily counseling, edibles, and just overall a letting go of the narcissism that has plagued me for about 15 years. So doing all these things may give me a better idea of what exactly I'm looking at, because I know in the past where I have read certain Q&As, I've missed pivotal points that were made in the question that made me realize I missed something completely, because I was going for the wreck-it mentality. Now I need to kind of take back and see if I can really help understand what's going on in this dilemma, whether it's a small dilemma or if it's a life-changing situation. Either way, there's a lot to consider, because the little things matter just as much as the big things. So this is from the Reddit area called AITA, which is Am I the A-hole? So I don't want to look at this as that, whether you are that or not. I'm not going to accuse you or say that you are that. We're just going to try to figure this out and see where maybe there could be some improvements. So We'll start with question 1. I can go ahead and get it popped up on the screen. If you have questions, concerns, or comments, you folks should know how to reach me by now. And for all the people who are, for the view counts that are going up, also I have decided I am putting up a little more conceptual content. I've been posting some super short 15-second stock footage clips on my stories section of Instagram and Facebook. Just something nice that maybe will put you in a good mood. Beautiful scenery is always something to be admired, so go ahead and check that out if you'd like. But let's go ahead and get the article monitor up on the screen. I remember when I originally did this, it would just nice. It had like a nice fade in, but I kind of had to change it around for some reason, and I should really fix it so it's like a nice fade in instead of just like that. Bam, there it is on the screen. Anyways, oh, happy Wednesday, everybody, by the way. Okay, let's get to it. 29-year-old female traveled across the country to visit a company regarding an incredible job offer. Well, good for you. I spent 2 days touring the company to decide if it would be the right fit for me. After years of self-employment, after meeting with the company, I visited my sister, who's 32 and female. Okay, that makes sense. And her family a few towns over. We barely get to see each other because of the work and distance, so it was a wonderful to spend a few days with her, the family, and her new baby. I was gone for a total of 8 days. Okay. When I returned home, I was excited to spend time with my husband, 33-year-old male, and tell him about the trip. My visit with my sister, my impression of the city, etc. We were meant to be celebrating our anniversary and decided to put off the discussion about whether or not I should accept the job offer until after our anniversary getaway. Sorry. Let me just move that aside for now. Okay. All right. Let me think here. Arranged for us to go on a luxury... Okay. We were meant to be celebrating our anniversary and decided to put off the discussion about whether or not I should accept the job offer until after our anniversary getaway. I'd arranged for us to go on a luxury train ride because he's a big train enthusiast, and we were meant to leave for the trip 3 days after I got home. This is when the problem started. All right. I have a very large closed bioactive terrarium, which I made with my mother 15 years ago. It's one of my favorite things I have of her from before she passed. This terrarium is my pride and joy and has come with me everywhere since we planted it. It was always super healthy and beautiful, and I've only ever had to open it 4 times to do a little maintenance and watering. My husband knows all of this, which is why I don't understand why he decided to tamper with it in my absence. I didn't notice the night I got home because I was exhausted, but the next morning I went to check on the terrarium to find it in a terrible state. The roots were rotting and the plants dying and molding. He told me that the day I left, he poured a few cups of water into the vessel and sealed it again. I was so mad I cried, and it turned into a huge argument because, quote, it's just a plant and, quote, all you do is look at it anyway. He called me ungrateful and overdramatic, and that I should appreciate that his intention was to help me, and then he didn't ask because he didn't want to bother me on my trip. Oh boy. I ended up canceling our anniversary plans, partly because I was so upset that I didn't want to go, and partly because I wanted to try and salvage the plants that would require time. He hit the roof when I told him and is now sleeping in a separate room. Oh, jeez. And refusing to speak to me because, according to him, I'm being pretty petty and trying to destroy our marriage. Am I being oversensitive about my plants? My friends are pretty evenly split, and have pointed out that he was just trying to be thoughtful, however misguided it was. For canceling an anniversary trip, which my husband was excited for because he was accidentally destroyed the terrarium. Okay. Oof. Well, look. Where do the problems start? You went on a nice trip. You were doing all these things. The terrarium situation. Number one, did you leave any instructions for your husband on how to take care of the terrarium? Was there instructions for him to have to do anything with it? Okay. If it mattered that much to you, then you probably should have stated so. Now, let's move to the next phase of this. Okay, obviously, yes, if it was that important to you, you should have mentioned how to care for it, things like that. Okay. Your husband apparently is well aware of how important this item, whether it's material or sentimental or whatever, he understands how much it means to you. If he didn't want to bother you, that's a problem. So he should have run it by you first. If it's that important and he is not a terrarium person, if he was going to do something with it, he should have run it past you first. I think that is the core communication breakdown right there, is that he didn't want to bother you, so he took it upon himself to do something which resulted in this whole thing kicking off. You obviously could have had some preventative measures by letting him know this is how you take care of it. Any problems or concerns, call me. But if he is your husband, he should know better, and he should have contacted you to address this. And I'm sure it wouldn't have taken very long for this scenario to be handled much easier than how it turned out. Okay, so there's a number one issue. You didn't make any mention of how important, if any issues with terrarium, call you. And then obviously the kicker, the real issue here, as we so far have read, is he didn't reach out to you. He just put water in it, and then that was it. So after that, this is where things really get out of hand. Obviously, mistakes were made by both parties. Obviously, mistakes were made by both parties where you didn't give him instructions, and two, he didn't reach out to you because to ask for advice on the terrarium because he knew it was that important. He didn't want to bother you. That's where the mistakes were. Fixable, repairable, no big deal. But not no big deal, but this could be fixed. He could have helped you fix the problem. He could have apologized, and from there, this is where things really get bad. Let's see. He didn't notice that I got home. I was exhausted. He told me that the next day he poured a few cups into the vessel and sealed it again. I was so mad I cried and turned into a huge argument because so he's saying it's just a plant and all you do is look at it anyway. Dude, you shouldn't have said that. I know you were trying to kind of tamper everything down and calm everything down, but it's not just a plant to her. And all you do is look at it anyway. Also, heavy inflammation. Not good. You shouldn't have said that. The first thing that should have came out of your mouth was, I'm sorry, I should have brought it up to you. I should have asked. How can you destroyed something of hers. You damaged something of hers. You need to help fix it. So the thing that should happen after this is you should be like, okay, what can we do? How can I help? Because he called me ungrateful and overdramatic. So, ungrateful for what? What are you ungrateful for? He did something without your permission because he didn't want to bother you, and you come home from a really great trip, a very emotionally sensitive trip. You got to see family. You got to get out of the house. Excuse me. You checked out a new job. So you're on an emotional high. So your hormones are and your endorphin levels and everything is up through the roof. And then you come home and the exact opposite is waiting for you. So it's not you being overdramatic. You are legitimately upset. And for you to be ungrateful, what's to be grateful for? He destroyed something that meant a lot to you. All he had to do was ask. And instead, he's pouring more high-test fuel on the fire by saying it's just a plant and all you do is look at it, and the ungrateful and overdramatic. And that you should appreciate his intention was to help me. Where was the intention? You should have asked first. He didn't ask because he didn't want to bother me on my trip. Well, that's on you, my man. I'm sorry. All right, so so now some serious damage is done. Let's move to the next paragraph. I ended up canceling our anniversary plans, partly because I was so upset that I didn't want to go, and partly because I wanted to try and salvage the plans that that would require time. Okay. All right. That makes understandable. Trying to fix the plants, I get it. I mean, he made a mess, and now you have to clean it up. And you're obviously upset at him that you don't want to go on this trip. So you canceled it. Okay. You're upset. And you're legitimately upset. And now, so he did something wrong, didn't apologize for it, called you ungrateful, and now he hit the roof when I told him, and is now sleeping in a separate room and refusing to speak to me because, according to him, I'm being petty and trying to destroy our marriage. Okay. Look, the only thing I can really say that you should have done as in this situation was let him know what to do with the terrarium and given him instructions. That's it. Everything else that has happened after this point, I have to side with you because he didn't reach out to ask you, hey, about this terrarium that you love so much, what do you want me to do? When it was destroyed and he called you, he said it was this, that, and the other thing, just a plant, called you ungrateful, overdramatic, you should appreciate the intention of him helping. Then him freaking out about the plans that were canceled. And now he's sleeping in a separate room. I mean, and refusing to speak to you. All of this was so avoidable. I really mean that. Like, all of this on your husband's part was so avoidable and didn't have to happen. And that makes me so sad that he's acting like this. And I can understand where he's coming from, but I don't agree with it. Especially now. Like, what he's saying is it's so, it's just aggressive and mean and degrading and against the spirit of your mother. Because you had this thing for what, 15 years or something like that? You built it with your mother and thinks you're misguided and overdramatic. It's just like, that's your woman. That's your wife. That's the person you committed to. For everything that you're trying to support. Why would you say that? Why would you try to have control or gain status like that? That's not cool. If you really wanted to be the bigger man, you would just, when she gets home, everything would have been as it was. Everything wouldn't have been all messed up and the terrarium destroyed. And even if, you made a mistake, you could have still offered to fix it. And you didn't do any of that. And now you're sleeping in a room that doesn't have your wife in it. That's so sad. You shouldn't be doing that. This needs to your husband needs to come to Jesus and really be like, I was so out of line. What can I do to fix this? How can I help? I shouldn't have said what I said. I shouldn't have done what I done. I shouldn't have done what I did. I should have asked you what to do over the phone, and I know it's this important to you. What can I do to help? I've really messed this up. That's what he needs to do. But if he does that, you need to accept him back in slowly and let him build himself up to that reputation, that person that is like, who knows he screwed up, who know he said some stupid things, and that this is not going to be a repetitive thing. That's But unfortunately, you're not. I don't side with him really at all. I really don't. So I get why you're upset, and I get why you canceled the plans, and I get why you're doing what you're doing. I just wish your husband could, take his foot off the gas of possibly destroying his marriage, because I don't think you're trying to do that. At least from reading this article, I can't see that. So your husband has a lot of work to do. Let's move on to the next one. If you don't agree, or if you have other thoughts, or you'd like to input your own, concerns, feel free to comment down below or just shoot me an email. Here's the next one. I don't know if I did anything wrong. I have been babysitting the kids after school at least once a week. I usually make some dinner, and we usually eat around 6. Today I was babysitting, and the kids came home. Tim, who's 12, was especially hungry and asked me to start dinner at 4. I told him to go eat some fruit as a snack and wait for dinner. He told me he didn't want fruit and asked me to make the food now. I told him no, that he can eat a snack. He was pissy for the rest of the night. My daughter came home a little after 7, and Tim went up to her claiming I starved him and wouldn't make dinner early. I explained I offered him some fruit to tide him over, and he didn't want it. This is where an argument started. My daughter saying if one kid wants dinner now, then I make dinner. I told her I offered a snack and he can wait. He is fine. I'm not babysitting for her anymore. She is pissed about that and thinks I am a jerk. Okay. Let me see here. I don't know if I did anything wrong. I've been babysitting the kids after school. Okay, grandkids. Okay. So you're babysitting the grandkids. Babysitting the at least once a week. I usually make dinner, and we usually eat around 6. Today I was babysitting, and the kids came home. Tim was 12. He wanted to eat at 4. I told him to go eat some fruit as a snack and wait for dinner. He told me he didn't want fruit and asked to make the food now. I told him no, and then he can have a snack. And he was pissy for the rest of the night. My daughter came home a little after 7, and Tim went up for her claiming I starved him, which you didn't starve him. I don't think you starved him. Kids aren't starving, but okay. All right. I explained I offered him some fruit. Okay. So you offered him something. She got home at 7. This is when the argument started. My daughter saying if one kid wants dinner now, then I make dinner. I told her I offered a snack and he can wait is fine. I'm not babysitting for her anymore. She's pissed about that and thinks I'm a jerk. Okay. I'm going to try an angle on here, and you let me know what you think. So you babysitting for the kids is a respectful thing to do, and you have a routine for 6 o'clock. That's when dinner is. So I understand that. You offered some food. He didn't want it, and he got upset. The child seems like he's a little entitled. I don't know if there is a secondary parental figure involved with all this. I'm not sure. So you didn't starve him. That is overdramatic. You didn't make dinner early because you always make dinner at 6. Now, how many kids is it? Today I was babysitting and the kids came home. Okay, so there's more than one. So one kid complained. The other ones didn't. You did offer him food and he rejected it and got really upset. Okay. Well, I think the kid is obviously a little spoiled. I will admit that that's one of my initial reactions. The mother, the daughter, basically saying if the kid wants dinner now, then you make dinner. I'll take your word if that's how it was said. It sounds I don't know, a little mean, maybe. But apparently you're not babysitting for anymore because I guess, I don't know why. Did you say no, or did the daughter say no? So I'm wondering how that worked out. But I think there needs to be a proper explanation, a conversation between the daughter and the mother to see why this thing got out of hand the way that it did. Because clearly the daughter's upset, maybe for legitimate reasons. I'm not going to press, but I think, look, it depends. You know, you raise your kids your way. Obviously, if somebody's doing you because look, what do you call it? Childcare is extremely expensive, like thousands of dollars a month. So hundreds, if not thousands of dollars a month. So you're doing her a great service by keeping an eye on the kiddos and saving a lot of money as well. So these are things that she should take into account before she gets incredibly upset. But I think there still needs to be a conversation had between the daughter and the mother, so that, because she's upset and thinks that you're a jerk. People are upset. They should need to have a conversation. It needs to be calm. If an intermediary needs to be involved to kind of work this out, then okay, we'll do that. But that conversation has to be had, and it needs to. And the person who is upset right now, which is the daughter, needs to be the first one to talk and lay out their rules and their guidelines. Not you. They already know what you've said and what you did and stuff like that. And it doesn't mean you're wrong, but since the person who is upset should be the first one to talk in this situation. That way they can get everything off their chest, and then you can listen to what they have to say. And only after they finish what they were saying, can you absorb their thoughts and feelings and see how you can work towards that. Okay, that's what I would recommend for entertainment purposes only. That start by having that conversation with the daughter and seeing if she can get it all out of her system and has some legitimate reasons as to why she has that thought pattern. But as long as you have that conversation, this could be okay. Let's move on to the next one. This one's chunky. I, 36-year-old female, have a 16-year-old son, Liam. Okay, so you had him when you were 20? Okay. His dad bailed on us when he was 1. He was too much of a coward to tell himself he didn't want to be a dad anymore and got his parents to tell me this. I was devastated. His parents weren't very happy with him and tried to convince him to come back, but he refused. I moved on and meet my now husband Daniel, 38, when Liam was 4. He is good to Liam and sees him as his own. Liam knows that Daniel's not his biological dad, but that doesn't matter to him. Daniel loves kickboxing and didn't take long before Liam became passionate about it as well. And so Daniel enrolled him into a kickboxing club. Hey, I'm in a kickboxing class. Just not today because my trainer was out sick with a migraine. And they both became... Yeah, I do it 4 days a week, by the way. They both trained a lot together, and Liam started winning local tournaments. Unbeknownst to me at the time, my ex-sister, April, had been sending my ex these updates on Liam. Despite me moving on, I still had contact with my ex's parents, and my son has a relationship with them. Okay, we are always invited to family events like birthdays and holidays, and they are fine with my husband. Not once had my ex shown up while we were there. I did know that my ex did mend his relationship with his family at some point. I told my ex's parents that the door was open for him to visit and have a relationship with Liam if he wanted when Liam was younger, but he never did take up on my... Okay. So, on to what happened... Okay, thank you. My son, cousin Soapy... Wait. So, on to what happened at my son, cousin Soapy's 16th birthday. We showed up and the first thing I noticed, April was looking stressed and knew why when I noticed my ex was sitting at the table with his girlfriend. Oh boy. Liam came in beside me and my ex nodded at him and said, "Hey son." Liam froze. There was this horrible pause and my ex said, "I heard you're doing good and you're fighting. You definitely got that from my side." Before I could say anything, Liam said, "Don't try and claim on something you've never had a part in." Whoa. Oh, he is 16. Okay. Everyone was quiet and watching us, and April tried to intervene, but my ex said I raised him to be a brat, and Liam just went off on him, and a lot of heated words came out of my son that I've never heard him say before. He called him a deadbeat and said he abandoned us and that he was just a waste of space. Daniel had to come in and only caught the end of it. He had to drag out Liam before it escalated. We ended up leaving and Liam was crying. April texted later and said she wants an apology from Liam for ruining Sophie's birthday. I told her to let him calm down first, but she kept pushing it until I snapped and said, "I'm not going to get him to apologize for telling the truth." She called me an asshole. Since then, I've been getting pressure from my ex side to apologize. I haven't told Liam yet because he's still hurting from that day. Okay. So I need to just go back. This will probably be the last one because this one is going to require some thought. So let me focus on this. So at the age of 20, the biological father bailed when Liam was only 1 year old. Okay. So that's a point for Liam. It doesn't seem like the mom has done anything wrong yet. So, okay. Dad bails. Not good. Too much of a coward. All right. Now, did you do anything to make him want to bail? I'm just throwing that out there, but it doesn't seem like it. I understand that you guys were young, and that can be tough, but okay, no, it's fine. People have had children at all different ages. Not going to say you were a bad mother or a bad girlfriend or whatever. Just that this is the situation that came to be, and obviously he didn't do the right thing. He bailed. He ran away. That is a cowardly thing to do. His parents weren't happy with him and tried to convince him to come back, and he refused. Okay, it's not looking good for him. You met your husband, Daniel, of 38, when Liam was 4. So Daniel, the stepdad, stepped up. Good for him. Good for Daniel. He's good to Liam. Liam knows that Daniel was not his biological dad. Doesn't matter. Daniel loves kickboxing. So Daniel introduced your son. So your stepdad introduced your son to kickboxing. That's great. Yep. So Daniel enrolled him into kickboxing. Unbeknownst to me at the time, my ex's sister, April, had been sending my ex these updates on Liam. Despite me moving on, I still had contact with the ex's parents. My son had a relationship with them. We were always trying... Okay. My birthdays are fine. The ex does not show up. Okay. So from what I understand, from what I'm gathering from the initial data collection here is that your son, Liam, has not seen his father since he was 1 year old. So he has basically no recollection of him. This is all he knows is that he had a father who abandoned him, and that everybody else, including the ex's parents, are in his life, but the biological father, is not. So let's see. I did know that my ex mended his relationship with family at some point. Told my ex that the door was open for him to visit and have a relationship with Liam if he wanted to when Liam was younger, but he never did take up on my intention. Okay, on the invitation. All right. Okay. So he went to the 16th birthday. Your son went to the 16th birthday. You showed up, and the first thing you noticed is that April was looking stressed and knew why. The ex was sitting at the table. So the absent father who hasn't been there since the age of 1, decided to show up unannounced And you, your son, and your husband were all there, unannounced. You guys were announced. He wasn't. There was a horrible pause, and my ex said, "You're doing good, but you're fighting." Blah blah blah. That's not going to work. So, Liam froze. So Liam is obviously upset. He didn't know what to think. He didn't know what to say, justifiably so. Liam is clearly, he's 16 years old. He has an amazing relationship with the stepfather, and then dear old dad just decides to show up. And he said, don't try and claim something you've never had a part in. Okay, that's pretty good. Liam said, watching us, April tried to intervene, but my ex said I raised him to be a brat. Dude, what are you doing? So the biological shows up out of nowhere, tries to claim something as his own, which Liam was correct in accusing, then has the audacity to say to the mother, who has raised the child basically by herself until the age of 4, until the stepdad stepped up and called out your parenting skills, saying your son was raised to be a brat. Listen, you weren't there. You ran away. You did. You refused to at least be there to help raise this young adult. And you can't handle him having a few choice words and showing up to this party unannounced? Called him a deadbeat and then came out of my son, called him a brat. Liam is obviously upset, so he went off. Daniel had to come in and only caught the end of it. He had to drag out Liam before it escalated. We ended up leaving, and Liam was crying. Okay. Kid's traumatized. He hasn't seen his father since he was a year old. And then the guy just shows up out of nowhere and tries to take credit. Oh boy. April texted later and said she wants an apology from Liam for ruining Sophie's birthday. Hold on a second. Let's pump the brakes here. April said she wanted an apology from Liam for ruining Sophie's birthday. April is the ex's sister. April, why didn't you tell them that the biological father was going to be there? Why didn't you warn them? Why didn't you let Liam know that his father, who's been absent for 16 years, was going to show up? How would you expect him to react? I told her to let him calm down first, but she kept pushing until I snapped and said, I'm not going to get him to apologize for telling the truth. Okay, she called your name. Since then, I've been getting pressured from my ex's side to apologize. I haven't told Liam yet because he's still hurting from that day. Look, I understand Liam's frustration. I understand why Liam is so upset. I understand everything that Liam said. I get it. He was mad. Can an apology come later? Yeah, way later. April needs to apologize for not saying anything about the biological showing up. The biological also needs to be apologizing for pretty much everything under the sun. And I think you're doing the right thing because, first of all, kudos to the stepdad for just being there and supportive. It doesn't look like he said anything. He hasn't said anything. He hasn't said to Liam, you should apologize. He hasn't said anything to you about he should apologize. He's just being a good man standing there by his stepson and you. You obviously backed your son, which is the right thing to do. You stood up for your son. You understood why he was upset. And this is a person who not only abandoned your son, but he abandoned you. He ran off on you. I don't understand. If there is an apology to be had from Liam's side, it's not going to come until way down the road. And quite frankly, the people that should be apologizing is April for not warning you that the ex was going to be there, and the ex and the ex's family. They should have known better. This kid was doing just fine by himself, and you all of a sudden just going to throw this huge curveball at him? That's not right. That's not right. It's not fair. It's disrespectful. And everything that the biological said was wrong. So I support Liam. I understand why he was upset. He's 16. He had a very traumatizing moment. He didn't know how to react. And quite frankly, the biological tried to take credit for something that the stepdad introduced to the son. So I understand Liam was not only standing up for himself, but he was standing up for his stepdad, which is a very admirable trait, very respectful. I like this kid. And you know what? Yeah, I like this kid. I like the mom a lot too. And I also have respect for the stepdad, because there is nothing in this paragraphing that states that he did anything to undermine this situation. He was just as shocked as you were and your son was when he showed up. So the apology has to come from the ex and the ex's parents and April, all those people. Your son did really nothing wrong. He just was upset. So there is some blame to be had, but little to none of it falls on Liam's and his mother's and his stepdad's side. That's how I feel. If you have questions, concerns, or a different viewpoint or something you'd like to add on top of that, you can go ahead and comment regarding any one of these Q&As, and just leave your comments or your questions down below or in an email if you just have a different viewpoint. So, yeah, absolutely. I would like to know what you guys think. And that's for any of the topics I cover. If you have other questions, concerns, or comments, go ahead and hit me up on my website. positivesarcasm@outlook.com is the email address, or you can go through the contact page at Positive Sarcasm. You can also hit me up through social media if you'd like. Instagram at @positive_sarcasm. Facebook.com/POS sarcasm and Facebook.com/positive sarcasm. So there's many ways to get a hold of me. I'm happy to help. It's a privilege to read these things and see if I can offer insight to them. But last one that's a tough pill to swallow. Access-wise, you can find this on Rumble at Positive Sarcasm. YouTube, go to YouTube Positive Sarcasm Podcasts. You can also find it anywhere podcasts are available: Spotify, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, Podcast Addicts, Apple Podcast. Stitcher is officially dead, so don't use Stitcher. But it's also on Substack as well, where I'm gaining no traction. I'm gaining more traction on Rumble and YouTube than I am on Substack. But whatever, I want to leave the options available. It's also downloadable and streamable directly from my website, positivesarcasm.com. Just a little something for you to think about. And then go ahead and check out all my other stuff that I've been working on, too, for the last month or so. Anyways, in the meantime, go ahead and check out the affiliate links in the description down below. Check out all that stuff. I really appreciate you guys listening. It's taken a considerable amount of effort to rebuild this podcast every single time and come back to it. And I think regardless of how this year goes, I think that we can really continue to build this platform, whether it's only once a week or twice a week, and hopefully make a difference one individual at a time, because the theme of this year's podcast is I can't save the world. So I need to stay in my lane as far as reviewing these questions and the answers and seeing what all the different angles of it, and then trying to offer my opinion. And I think individually, if we can help people one Q&A at a time, I think that would be really, really important. I think that'd be the most valuable thing I can do with this platform. So that's the way I'm going to do that. Go ahead and check out all my other pages and all my other content that you possibly can. If you want to follow me on Instagram, it's at @positive_sarcasm. And I guess that's pretty much it. I don't know if I missed anything, and if I did, please let me know. Once again, this podcast, I am not a licensed therapist in any clinical sense. I'm just a guy who wears sports jackets. So in the meantime, that's pretty much it. This is for entertainment purposes only. If you are looking for clinical help, there are affiliate links down below in the description. So go ahead and check those out. But maybe some of this information you may find rather insightful. So thank you for listening, watching, and subscribing. And I'll talk to you all next week. Recorded here from the Spare Parts Studio for entertainment purposes only. This has been a Positive Sarcasm presentation.